We are going to be looking at the second type of white blood cells known as lymphocytes in this video. And of course, unlike phagocytes, you do have to know the formation and the maturation of the lymphocytes. Formation is pretty simple. Just like phagocytes, the lymphocytes are also formed in the bone marrow, which is inside the bones, and it starts off with the blood stem cells dividing continuously through a process known as mitosis. Now, when the blood stem cells divide, they will specialize into two groups of lymphocytes. Some of the blood stem cells will specialize or differentiate to become something known as immature B lymphocytes, and another one is called the immature T lymphocytes. I'm representing them as different colors. It doesn't mean that the B lymphocytes are orange and T lymphocytes are green. It's just a clear way of looking at them. All right. Then, of course, you might be asking the question, why are the lymphocytes classified into B and T? The answer to that question is because of the place where the lymphocytes become matured. Now, some students will ask, what exactly does it mean by cell maturation? Maturation of the cell just means that they are quite small when they are newly divided and the cell starts to become larger. You can link it back to your cell cycle, which is the G1 phase in interphase, by the way. Anyway, so the main thing to know about B lymphocyte is that the B lymphocytes mature in the bone marrow. And the bone marrow, the first letter of bone marrow is B, as I have highlighted over there. So that is why B lymphocytes are called such, because B lymphocytes mature in the bone marrow. Simple stuff. And the T lymphocytes, however, they will mature in an organ known as the thymus. Now, students may be asking the question, where exactly is the thymus located? The thymus is an organ which is part of your lymphatic system. You don't have to know that, don't worry. And the thymus is located behind your sternum. Your sternum is just the bone that is in the middle of your chest, all right? So it's just good to know where the thymus is located, but will they ask for the location of the thymus? No. So because T lymphocytes mature in the thymus, the first alphabet of thymus is T, we call that T lymphocytes. It's as simple as that, okay? You do have to know the formation of the two types of lymphocytes, and you do have to know where they mature. This is important for the exam. Now, another very important thing that you have to know is when the B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes mature, something interesting happens. One obvious thing that happens here is the size increases, obviously. If you compare the immature B lymphocytes, immature T lymphocytes with the mature ones, with their mature counterparts, the mature cells are larger. But what is very interesting is the mature lymphocytes have receptor proteins on their cell surface membrane. So what are the functions of these receptors on the cell surface membranes? So that is what we want to look at. Now, a very important thing to understand here is each lymphocyte, whether it's B or T lymphocytes, have receptors which are complementary to one type of antigen only. What do I mean by that? If you look at each of the cell, yes, they have multiple receptors, but in each cell, the receptors are the same shape. Now, why is this important? Is because now, I'm drawing out a pathogen at the bottom here. Remember, pathogens are the harmful microorganisms. And on the surface of the pathogens, they have the antigen. Antigens are foreign substances. Here is where something important happens. B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes are highly specific. Now, what do I mean by highly specific? You see, under normal circumstances, white blood cells are supposed to attack anything that have antigens. We understand that. We saw that in the previous videos. But lymphocytes are highly specific. For example, I'm drawing out one lymphocyte here, as you can see. Notice the shape of the receptor on the lymphocyte and the shape of the antigen. They are not complementary. So that lymphocyte will not react at all. In fact, it will lie dormant, as I'm showing you here, it's sleeping. Second lymphocyte, is the receptor complementary? No. so they will not respond. Third lymphocyte, again, not complementary to the antigens at all, thus they will not respond. The fourth lymphocyte that I'm drawing here, their receptor and the antigen matches, in the sense they are complementary to each other. The moment they are complementary to each other, that's when the lymphocyte goes, oh, you need to be destroyed. You are something that is foreign in our body. And the same thing happens with the T lymphocytes as well. The T lymphocytes have receptors and they are only complementary to one type of antigen. That's the first important thing that you have to understand about lymphocytes. They are highly specific, all right? They only respond to a specific type of antigen, all right? So that's the first thing that we have to know. So then, of course, you might want to ask the question, what's the difference between B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes then? Well, obviously the first thing is we knew that their area of maturation is different. B lymphocytes mature in the bone marrow and T lymphocytes mature in the thymus. And also their immune response, which means to say how they respond to the antigen is going to be very different as well. And we will be looking at that in the next video.